Are people born in 2010 Gen Z? Google said that kids born from 2010 to 2012 were considered Gen Z. But they also said that it's a part of Gen Alpha. Which generation is it actually a part of? Why is Gen Z so obsessed with late 90s / early 2000s aesthetics? Let's do some math here. Gen Z is roughly 1997 to 2012. Most of us are in our late teens / early 20s. It's literally just because that's the aesthetic we grew up with and saw throughout our childhood. 2010 to 2012 isn't real Gen Z. You're in '09. That is literally your childhood friend. Are kids born in 2011 Gen Alpha? Gen Z is 1997 to 2012. They are the college kids now too. 2012 to 2014. 1997 not Gen Z. If you clicked on this video, you're probably one of two people. One, you're a person who thinks that Gen Z ends in 2010 and you're like, bro, they're too young to be Gen Z. Or two, you're born from 2010 to 2012 and you think that you should be considered Gen Z like all the other Gen Zers, and I don't blame you. Who would want to be associated with the same generation as those mindless little iPad kids? Like, no one. And if you do, well, then you do. What else I gotta say about that? It's kind of sick. According to a lot of Google articles and information sites, they claim to believe that Gen Z starts in 1997 and the next generation, Gen Alpha, starts in 2010. But in a lot of popular social media sites, a lot of users think that instead, it actually starts in 2012 and ends in 2024. First, to settle this dispute, you have to wonder, alright, how long is a generation? Your average generation is the amount of time where certain people from a specific time period, let's say the 90s for example, grow up all the way from kids / adolescents to adults, which is typically about 20 to 30 years long, according to Google. So now, let's use the aging logic. Let me explain. Alright, so most platforms think that Gen Z is 1997 to 2012, which is 15 years. So let's use an 8-year-old kid for example. After 15 years, that 8-year-old kid will be 23 years old, which is an adult, so that's correct. And even if we use a 6-year-old, after 15 years, they will be 21, which is still an adult. And we don't need to use Google's logic because we all know that if we use the same logic, even if they're just out of the womb 20 or 30 years later, they'll be around 20 or 30 years old. Now, it doesn't matter which source you're using for how long a generation is. Now, let's get to the juicy stuff. Hey yo. So what's the truth? Does Gen Z end in 2010 or 2012? Well, depending on the way you see it, everyone could have different viewpoints on anything in the world, but here's why I think that Gen Z actually ends in 2012. Which could potentially make sense because generations are actually 15 to 20 years long, and if we use that logic that Gen Z ended at 2010, Gen Z would only be about 13 years long, which just sounds really inaccurate. But then again, everyone has their own subjective opinions. I'm not saying it's like a fact that Gen Z ends at 2012, but that's what I think and a lot of other social media users believe too. Well, that was a lot of things to cover. What do you think about the situation? Do you think that Gen Z ends at 2010 or 2012? Or you probably just don't care and question yourself why you even watch this video until the end having no interest in it. Well, that was a large debate over Gen Z start and end dates. If this video offended you or anything, I'm sorry. Like, what am I supposed to do about it? Until there's concrete evidence on either side of the government or something, this might just still be an indecisive matter of who's right and who's wrong. But at the end of the day, it's night. Case closed.